Okay, are we starting the podcast now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, I think
Wait, we didn't introduce ourselves.
Okay, I'm B Natural.
I'm better.
I'm Mustard.
I'm Stir.
Okay, continue.
I don't think hawks have erections. I know they do a cloacal kiss, which is adorable. So I don't know if there'd be a...
That does not sound adorable to me.
No,
That's not what I meant by
I know what a
continue. I meant,
cloaca is, and I don't... oh, gross.
It's called a kiss. Isn't that adorable?
That doesn't mean it's adorable.
I wish our sex was called a kiss.
Just like scissoring, basically.
Yeah, they just go like, "Mwah," and then the sperm like splashes onto the lady one, and then it goes inside.
I don't like imagining that that's the sound that it makes.
Hello, welcome to the Animorphs Book Club podcast. We read the Animorphs, we talk about them. I have only read up to book 8. We read the Animorphs books, we talk about them, and that's it. That's the entire podcast.
Yeah,
One book per podcast.
Just one.
Yeah, one book per podcast. We're just talking about one book.
This entire podcast is about. None of the books have been really silly yet, so I can't really make a joke about this entire podcast is just about that one book because none of the books have been incredibly silly yet. So I guess I'll just have to wait later to make that joke.
What is that music in the background?
Wait, how do you... Oh, somebody's playing a piano upstairs in my house.
That's cool. That Mustard doesn't have to make his own music later. Sounds good.
Should we start the summary then?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a prologue. The book starts with a recap of how Axe was found by the Animorphs, and then chapter 1 starts. After the last fight, Jake is determined not to get into danger. They take Axe to the movie theater to watch a Star Trek movie. After the movie, a man in the parking lot screams as his Yerk dies. Later, Axe and Tobias play in the woods together. Maybe they'll be friends. Chapter 5. Axe is going to school with Jake so he can learn how to be human. Chapter 6. During the first class, Mr. Perdue claws at his own head with his hands. Chapman tells the kids to leave the room so he can kill Mr. Perdue.
He doesn't say leave the guy.
No, he doesn't say, hey kids, leave after kill this man, but that's what he does.
Yeah.
Chapter 8. Marco offers to take Axe to the library to learn how to read. Chapter 9. It turns out Axe put Andalite equations in Marco's computer. Chapter 10. Axe read the entire World Almanac. He's lonely. Cassie talks to him. Axe morphs into Jake and eats dinner at Cassie's house. Her dad likes him. Chapter 12. Axe tells Tobias about his plan to contact his parents in space. Tobias and Axe become birds and fly to the observatory. Chapter 14. I guess Tobias doesn't actually know what Axe is doing. Axe calls his planet and tells everything to the head of the council. A Yerk walks into the room and tells Axe how he can kill Visser 3. Chapter 17. The Animorphs hold a meeting to yell at Axe for keeping secrets. Chapter 18. Axe morphs into a snake and goes to the meadow where Visser 3 feeds. Chapter 19. Axe finds out that the Yerks have infiltrated the Andalite homeworld. Chapter 20. Axe decides to start trusting his friends. He tells them about Andalites. Chapter 21. Axe calls the head of the council to tell him he will fight with humans. The end. Okay, who has fun stuff to say about this book? I don't have much.
I do. I have all. I can't believe anyone wouldn't absolutely just be blown away by this book.
I just wasn't blown away. I'm like, yeah, it's a book. It's good.
Everyone. I was like, everyone should be blown away. Everyone should love it.
I mean, that's how I felt about book 3, but that wasn't the case.
So the first note I have here is I'm immediately excited for this book because it has a prologue. So already just before the book even starts, I'm excited for it just because.
Yeah, that was different, dude.
Just because I get to the first page and it's prologue. So before I even read any part of this book other than the word prologue, I'm like, oh, I love it. I don't know why. I don't know why there being a prologue made me excited, but for some reason I was just like,
Well, it made me
yeah.
excited because none of the other Animorphs books have had prologues so far. So you're like, oh, this one's going to be serious.
Yeah, and it was. I do have one complaint about the prologue, which is just that, and this is just like with the whole series. But the Andalites are all in the prologue. The Andalites are all on their ship, and Axe is there, and because he's narrating, and the Andalites say things like, "Oh, we're gonna be there in 12 Earth minutes," but like, what? What are you doing? They're all on their own ship, just talking to other Andalites. Why are they referring to Earth minutes?
I had that complaint too. I thought that was kind of silly. Also, it doesn't really matter if the audience knows how much time that is.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. They could just
say, fine because they're on Earth and they're orbiting around Earth, so like they're gonna.
But that's silly.
Follow Earth. It's like, oh yeah, it's so they know like how much the Earth is gonna rotate by the time they like land or whatever.
Nobody thinks of minutes.
No, they would just express the same amount of time in their own units.
No, but maybe minutes. They know like, okay, we know that like 1 Earth minute is exactly like a 3,000th of an Earth rotation or whatever, so they can use that to like figure out where they're supposed to land and stuff.
Okay, fine, sure, I guess.
Why would they still need to use Earth units for that?
For convenience.
That doesn't sound that convenient.
No, like if we landed on Mars, we'd say, that we'd measure the time in based off of Mars's rotation, maybe.
That makes sense. Although
Yeah, but still put it in Earth units.
Yeah, the fact they use minutes is a little strange.
I think with Applegate, I feel like they should just go ahead and just stop. Don't pretend that the aliens have different units of measurement if you're never going to bring them up.
I mean, I think it's fine because like Axe like says Earth minutes all the time. I feel like Andalites.
Yeah, because he's talking to humans and we wouldn't know.
Yeah, but I think Andalites just have a different culture with like how they explain time. Like they're totally open to using other people's units of measure and calling them different things.
Okay, that could be valid because apparently it's really easy for them to calculate time in their heads.
I guess so. All right, fine.
My first note is that Marco canonically dresses like beavers.
Yeah, that's good. That's right. That was my first note too. Or one of them.
Wait, what? I don't even remember
Really?
that.
I didn't care about that at all.
What does that even mean?
Beavis and Butthead.
I figured she was just exaggerating.
No.
I mean, he dresses exactly like Beavis in every way. He's got the outfit perfectly pinned down.
Beavis just wears like shorts and a Metallica t-shirt, and that seems like how Marco would dress.
All right. So at the beginning, I love the beginning of this book.
Wait, what is the beginning? I don't even remember anything.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this wasn't the best. This wasn't your favorite chapter. I don't know. I feel like I have such a hard time. Sir, I feel like you just have all the wrong opinions because I have such a hard time like trying to come up with what you're gonna like because I feel like you would have loved this chapter, but
the prologue of chapter 1.
Oh, like when Max goes to the movie.
Oh no, I was like, whatever. This is kind of boring.
No, I thought that was great.
All he does is eat a bunch of globules.
How is this not an amazing work of literature?
Hang on, was that chapter 1?
No, this is chapter 2, and
That part's page.
I just wasn't entertained, that's all.
Okay, so skipping the part, we're talking about Axe on his ship, because that wasn't too interesting.
Well, the first chapter is just talking about Axe, as just the Animorphs being like, Axe, you're gonna morph into a human, and we're gonna take you to a movie, and here's the plan.
It's also like backstory of stuff we already know, basically.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about chapter 1.
Yeah.
I just love chapter 2. So Axe is at the movie, and he's like, I don't understand the plot of that. And then the Animorphs are like, Axe, that was just a preview.
And there's a part where like Jake's like, "Don't call me Prince," and in the book, it Axe narrating and says, "Don't call me Prince," Prince Jake said.
Oh my god, I love it. I love Axe. This book made me like, I wasn't sure if Axe was great, from the previous books. I was like, maybe I just loved him because he was quirky and weird when I was a kid. I love him in this book.
Oh, I liked Axe way more in the book in the Megamorphs.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, I guess.
No, I'm totally fine with getting half as many Tobias books if we get these books instead.
No, I would want to have the equal number of both of them.
Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah, but if it's either like half Tobias and half Elfangor or no Elfangor.
Did you just call him Elfangor?
Not Axe, whatever.
Freaking serious.
I'm bad with names.
No.
Does that mean you just shouldn't try to be better with names? Is that what that means?
I do.
No.
He tries, maybe. Listen, we can't know if he tries or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Stuart, how could you have liked Axe more in Megamorphs? He barely had any character in Megamorphs. All he did was he was just the same as he was before.
Yeah, and it was cool. He cut the guy's hand off, I guess, and he talked to Visser 3. That was awesome. And this he's just eating
In this
boxes.
book, he almost killed Visser 3.
Yeah, that was cool, I guess.
Wow, your opinions are just I can't believe
In this chapter, all he does is eat cardboard boxes. I couldn't do that at home.
Yo, let's talk about him at the theater because it was the best part of the book.
All right, Mustard, why don't you give it a shot?
Okay, so he's at the movie theater, and I feel like you describing how much you like this book because of Axe. You're not really mentioning it's because Axe is narrating, and everything he describes it in this weird alien way, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
There's a part where Jake says something, and it's oh, blah blah blah. Jake said, making words with his mouth.
Yeah.
Just the Axe narrating it is so much more Axe than just Axe being in the book.
I love how Axe described, and I love how Axe described sitting, or he was we did something called sitting, which involved bending your body in half and resting on the fat deposits on your
the
legs.
fat deposits. Oh my gosh. Ew.
And I love Axe talking about there's one part later in the book where Axe is talking about the wonders of human inventions, and he's the humans think their music's good, but what's actually good is this wonderful beverage called vinegar.
So he's in the theater, and then Axe keeps talking shut up, just eat this popcorn. And he's oh man, this tastes what is this flavor? Marco's I don't know, butter and salt. And he's there was also a hint of cigarette butts, which I also enjoy.
Although Prince Jake had told me never to eat cigarette butts again. They are bad for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that he'd eat cigarette butts because it's he just walks. I mean, he walks by an ashtray, and how is he supposed to tell if that's different from those bowls of candy they have on the reception desks? You know.
Well, I don't think he's even misidentifying it. I think he's just this is a very strong taste, and he likes the sensation of taste if it's strong.
Yeah, okay.
That's how he is with chili.
Yeah.
I love how we find out in this scene, back to the theater scene. I love how we find out what Axe is doing wrong, not by because he's narrating, right? So if the human Animorphs were narrating, they would be oh my god, Axe just ate the box of popcorn, he ate the actual box. But since Axe is the one that's narrating, we only find out he did something wrong when the other Animorphs start reacting to it. Where Marco hands Axe a box of popcorn, and then Axe's narration just says, "I quickly ate the rest of it." "Not the box," Marco wailed. "You don't eat the box." "It tasted of salt and grease," I pointed out.
Yeah. And then he finds more popcorn on the floor and starts eating it. He's "Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of popcorn down here."
Yeah.
And I like that it says, what is it? The humans have coated the floors with a sticky substance. Is he just crawling around the theater floor?
Yeah, the humans have coated the floor with sticky substances to make it easier not to slip.
Yes, that's why.
This is for your convenience, so you can more easily crawl around on the floor and eat your popcorn. You know, it's just human things. The humans are pretty great. They just crawl around on the floor and eat popcorn and don't fall over because they've coated the floor with sticky substances. They're so smart. And then he goes up to this poor child.
I love this part.
It's just, I could not just take the younger human is holding an entire box of brown globules, but I could not just take them. I must ask permission first. I looked up from the floor at the human. "Please give me your brown globules," I asked. "Globules, ools."
He's eating chocolate. He found chocolate on the floor, and he really likes it.
Yeah.
Raisinets specifically, which are fantastic.
"Please give me your brown globules." And then
I love that it's a question that he starts with "please."
Yeah. He's polite. And then he goes, I love the sentence, "I merely wish to enjoy the brown globules," I explained to the screaming child.
Dude, for some reason, I think that people like screaming in response to the weird alien stuff is the funniest thing. Like, my favorite part of book 5 was when this woman was just screaming at one of the people turning into a lobster.
Oh yeah, that poor woman.
And this seems similar to me when just this girl was screaming at this innocent alien asking for chocolate.
And then Prince Jake, and then Jake and Marco have to like literally drag him out of the theater, kicking and screaming while he's like screaming globules.
This human that Axe morphed into is like a combination of like all the Animorphs' DNA and like instincts, right? So I'm curious, like if their instincts are like determining what he's doing in the theater in any way.
So you think he likes chocolate because the people he stole the DNA from like chocolate?
Maybe. I thought it was interesting that Axe is like so like not human and not understanding when he has human instincts because of the Animorphs. So I think it's interesting, like just how weird an unhuman Axe acts most of the time.
Well, what I was thinking about that, and what I think is like Axe is okay. Well, Axe is acting on human instincts. Like he's acting on the human instinct to speak and the human instinct to eat things.
Yeah,
taste things. So those are human instincts. But also, like they don't really act. I don't think they act exactly normal when they're birds either. Like they're like diving around and riding on roller coasters and shit. And I think all the other birds, if the other birds like could talk, they would be like, man, look at those weirdos. It's just that birds don't react. The other birds don't react to them because they're birds and they don't care. So what do you guys think about the meaning of the word aristh?
Oh yeah, we finally learned what aristh is. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say aristh is a good word for us to use. We're gonna be war princes by the end of it. Like this is our training right now.
Oh sure, okay, sure, yeah.
Hey, explain what an aristh is then.
An aristh is like a somebody who's training to be a Indolite warrior, or what do they call them? Like war princes. Where are they? So they're just warriors, and then there's like princes who tell the warriors what to do, and then there's war princes who are like on the top of the totem pole.
Yeah, an Axe is an aristh, and often go as a prince.
Yep. I noticed like in one of the books narrated by the humans, they say like, oh yeah, we met this Andalite prince. I guess Andalites are into the whole royalty thing, but I don't think that's true given what we've learned now.
No, it's not royalty.
It doesn't seem like they're actually like they're not like it doesn't seem like they're actually like royalty. They're just like that's just a military rank.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cool name for a military rank. I'm giving props to Capelgate for that. I don't know how original that is, but I haven't heard of it anywhere else.
Maybe she didn't have that in mind when she wrote the first book. She just called him a prince, and then she like kind of made up as she went along that he's not actually a prince; it's just a military rank.
It's entirely possible because she does like retcon everything.
So you don't think Elfangor had power outside of like fighting in wars?
No.
Oh, I did.
They mentioned just the fact from this book that they mentioned, like, oh, everybody else on the ship was a prince, but I was just an aristh. Made it seem like everyone else on the ship was a captain, and I'm just a private.
He's just a trainee, you know?
Yeah.
He's not even like a.
Yeah.
So after that, Axe kind of talks about like how he has to keep things secret from the humans.
Yeah. Chapter 3, right after they leave the theater, they see a dude like screaming and making a big scene, and he's like clawing at his head, and then they see a yerk crawling out of his brain, and all the human Animorphs are like, oh yay, the war's over, everyone's gonna figure out what's going on now because of this dude, and it's all good because they see the police and like the hospital and like the ambulance is coming for him, but Axe is looking at the whole scene and he's like, oh no, this is not good. But he doesn't tell. Like, there's this part where Jake is, like, smiling. And he's like, oh, this is great. And then Axe just goes, yeah, it's great. But, like, you can tell from his narration that he does not think it's great at all. For some reason. And, I think in this chapter he does say that, like, they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, and he notices, right? He notices that they, like, take this little, like, gray little gray like pencil shaped object thing, and it presses it.
Mustard, it's a gun.
What?
It's a handgun.
Oh,
No.
Make any noise.
It's a handgun with a silencer on it.
No. What?
That's how Axe would describe. That's how Axe would describe a handgun.
How would he describe it?
A gray cylinder.
No. So, there'd be a bang. Like if Chapman shot someone in the school, people would know.
Yeah. Okay. He drew a small steel cylinder from his pocket and pressed it against the back of the man's neck, and then the Animorphs are still excited. I feel like if he shot him, the Animorphs would be like, "Whoa, that policeman just shot this guy!" But I think it was the special Yeerk technology where they just pressed it against the neck and it just automatically killed them. I don't think you would describe a gun as a small steel cylinder. Like that's not guns aren't cylindrical.
That's true.
Or that small, really.
All right, I didn't think about that. I kind of just skimmed over this part and I was like, "Oh, they killed him with the gun, probably."
No, I feel like if it was a gun, plus like they saw it in the school too. Like I feel like there would be a bigger scene. Like I don't know, it's definitely not a gun.
All right, that's a good point. So basically, what's going on is that like. From how many books ago was it? I guess it was two. I guess it was one main series book ago in book 7 when they destroyed the Kandrona. Now it's weeks later, and they're like, the Yeerks are having trouble like keeping everyone fed. So some people are just dying, and their hosts are freaking out in public as the Yeerks die. And then the Animorphs think this is great because it's like, wow, everyone's going to find out about the Yeerks. They can't cover this up, but then it turns out they can because they got the Yeerks have a lot of people and they just find all the hosts who are freaking out and then they just kill them. And yep.
Wait, so why did Axe have to keep this a secret?
Because Axe would have to reveal that he knew that destroying the Kandrona would lead to humans being killed by the Yeerks.
Why is that such a hot take? Of course, why would the Yeerks not do that? I don't see why.
That's surprising that he allowed them to cause people dying.
Jake didn't believe that destroying the Kandrona would kill actual humans. He just thought it would make the Yeerks starve. But Axe knows that the Yeerks are going to kill as many humans as they can, and they're going to kill all the humans who have Yeerks dying inside them. And that was a secret that he was intentionally keeping from them.
Well, why wouldn't he tell them that so that they would just figure that destroying the Kandrona isn't such a good idea then?
Axe said that he didn't want them to know that because he thought that then they wouldn't have destroyed the Kandrona.
He wants them to destroy the Kandrona.
So he doesn't care as much about human life as the humans do, is what I'm hearing from this.
Yeah.
It's just that he hates Yeerk life more than he cares about human life, that's all.
Okay, that makes sense. And then he just doesn't want them to know that. And then if he told them that he knew that, they would be like, "Hey, why didn't you?" Yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
There's this great part later where they're at school and their teacher starts doing the freak out Yeerk thing, and then Jake figures out that they're killing people, and then he gets really angry with Axe, and he actually like pins Axe against a locker, and he's like and I really liked this scene. I mean, okay, I really liked every scene, so I should probably stop saying that. And then Axe is explaining like why he didn't tell them before, and he says, "Maybe you would not have destroyed the Kandrona if you had known it could endanger Tom." Prince Jake stuck his face very close to mine. That's what you think? You know what, Axe? You're right to try and learn more about humans because you don't know a thing about us, not a thing.
So most of the conflict in this book is, I mean, the intrapersonal conflict and conflict with like among the Animorphs is about Axe keeping secrets because it's part of Andalite society that they can't tell too much to the humans.
It's the law.
Yeah, and he's like he wants to be friends with the Animorphs, and he's considering just telling Tobias everything. But he's like, no, getting too close to any alien species is a mistake. They learned that in school. You can defend them, but you shouldn't make close friends with any aliens.
Yeah. Yo, can we talk about Tobias in this book?
Yeah.
Yes, Tobias is great in this book. I loved him.
I love the relationship. Axe is just like, I love the relationship between like Axe and everyone basically, but especially Axe and Tobias. They're just like Tobias. Axe is like, I wrote this down. Sometimes I think Tobias and I could be true Shorm. A Shorm is a deep friend, someone who you never lie to or who knows all your secrets. The word shorm means tail blade. See, it's supposed to mean a person you would trust so much they could put their tail blade right up against your throat and you wouldn't even worry. Sometimes I think Tobias and I could be like that. We are both cut off from our own people. We're both alone. But if we were friends, I would have no secrets from Tobias. And even though he was a hawk in form, he was still a human, and I am an Andalite, and no matter how much I sometimes wished for a real friend, there had to be a wall between my people and the humans, between me and the humans. Getting too close to any alien species is a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And Tobias has his own like name for Axe. He calls him Axeman. And he makes very casual they basically live together because they both live in the woods, and Tobias is the one that Axe sees the most, I think.
Yeah. One thing that annoyed me in this book was that they kept making references to how Axe eats, but then they just kept refusing to tell us how Axe eats for no reason. I don't know why this was such a big deal.
Tobias was like, hey, how do you eat? And Axe was just like, well, I have hooves, don't I? And it's like...
I love that part.
And then they didn't... Tobias was like, oh, well, never mind. And it's like, well, he eats through his hooves, I guess. Like, why...
Yeah, I had it figured out by then, and I was just like, why would you... Okay.
Yeah, it was in like chapter 3 where he's like, oh, I have hooves, don't I? So as a reader, you're like, okay, I guess he eats through his hooves. And then at the end, it was treated like this was some big secret that he had to tell them.
It was a secret from the Animorphs, but not from us.
Yeah, but it's a secret from us, too, because a different person in the book is like, you know, they never asked how I ate. Like, I could have told them, but they didn't ask her. He says it like that, but then he like doesn't like go on to tell us, the audience, how he eats. So I feel like Applegate was trying to make this like a big surprise moment.
I guess it was supposed to be like a metaphor for like him keeping secrets overall, and it's like, oh man, now that if he finally told the secret of how he eats, that means they have no more secrets now.
Yeah, but Axe doesn't seem to think that the way he eats is a secret. That's the thing.
I agree, and it was like really.
So I don't think it was very well executed.
Yeah.
It kind of got on my nerves. And then there's also, and then going along with that, there's also like, oh, I kept expecting Tobias to ask me if there's a way he could turn back into a human, but he didn't. And it's like, why would you bring that up? And he brings it up like twice.
I like that.
Like, oh my gosh.
Because that seems like more important information than how he eats. That's like very important to like the series as a whole. And as readers, we still don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it wasn't like, for a long time, I expected Tobias to ask me the question that must have haunted him day and night, whether it would ever be possible for him to escape his hawk body. I wonder if he's gonna like ask about that anti-morphing ray I have in my den someday. But you know, oh well.
I won't tell him about it unless he asks, though.
Yeah, that's not how it is. It's like he just. I think it's implied that Axe doesn't know.
I think it's implied that Applegate doesn't know.
No, it's definitely implied that Applegate doesn't know.
I don't think I don't think it's clear whether or not Tobias can turn back yet. I think that was intentional.
No, it's not.
Unlike the fact that Axe eats through his hooves, which was clearly obvious from like chapter 4, we still don't know whether or not Tobias can actually turn back. It didn't seem obvious from how Axe was talking about it.
No, it wasn't.
Also, unlike the hooves thing, like Tobias doesn't like ask at the end of the book. Axe tells them how he eats, but at the end of the book, Tobias doesn't go like, "Oh, Axe, I finally feel like I can ask you now." Like, no, it's still like like, the reason he doesn't ask him is both because of Axe being secretive and because of Tobias being afraid of the answer. And also,
Axe, like, hinted at, like, oh, I think maybe a reason Tobias isn't asking is maybe he doesn't want to be human. Maybe he is happy with the Talkmorph now. Like, that's something Axe brings up, but I liked that.
Me too.
So I feel like the way it was worded, it seems like it could go either way with him, whether or not he can actually turn back at some point.
But the important thing about Tobias' development, or Tobias and Axe's relationship development in this series is I just read that quote about him being like, oh no, I can't be a Shorm with Tobias, even though he's really great. And Tobias, I feel like I really trust Tobias, but I can't because he's a human. At the end of the book, he just casually mentions that Tobias is a Shorm. Like he just casually goes, neither I nor my Shorm Tobias is capable of smiling. I'm like, oh my god,
that's fair.
That was great.
Yeah, and then he says, neither I nor my Shorm Tobias is capable of smiling. But just the same, there are times when we look at each other and understand each other and smile.
Aww.
I love it. It's just like,
Be natural. Do you ship Axe and Tobias?
No, that's silly. Okay. But they're friends. They're Shorm, okay?
Tobias is the only one of the Animorphs that Axe hasn't acquired at this point. So he's.
I don't know if he can.
Why not? He's a Hawk. He has Hawk DNA.
Didn't he say like at this point? Didn't he say like at some point in this book like I can't acquire Tobias because he's a Nothlit or something like that?
No, I don't. Did he say that?
Well, he couldn't acquire his human form.
Oh, maybe that's what he meant.
I don't really see, because X already has a Harrier morph, so I don't really see why he needs to have a Hawk morph.
That's right. I remember reading that part and being like, wait, does he mean does he mean he can't get Tobias' human form or Tobias' Hawk form? And it wasn't clear. But I guess that interpretation makes more sense.
So yeah, we learned another new vocab term is Nothlit, Nothlit.
We learned so many new vocab terms. There's so much Andalite lore in this book. I love it.
So yeah, Nothlit, someone who's trapped in a morph.
We learned aristh, Nothlit, Estreen.
I don't remember what that is.
Estreen is the person who's a natural morpher. So like Cassie.
Oh.
There's so much lore in this book.
When Axe is talking about morphing into humans, he says, I've never heard of any intelligent species trying to walk this way. This way being on two legs without a tail or wings. So apparently humans are the only intelligent species that only have two legs and don't have wings or a tail that Axe is familiar with.
I'll believe that. That seems fine.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
It was interesting universe lore.
Yeah. And we also got some universe lore that was like Andalites made war on each other, and Hork-Bajir have like a freaking biological clock that makes them wage war every 62 years or something like that.
Yeah, because he said every single like species in the universe has war, and people just do it in different ways.
Although I think he says Andalites used to wage war on each other, implying that they don't anymore. Okay, so we learned a lot about Andalites in this book, and I love it. I love every part of this book, man. This book is good. I really love how much we learned about Andalite culture.
Yeah.
Like, we learned that the Andalites kind of suck.
So, shall we mention now the big oopsie that the Andalites did and why they have these laws?
Yeah.
One Andalite, I guess I'll explain. One Andalite named, what's his name?
Zero.
Zero?
Seerrw.
One Andalite named Zero saw these little sluggy guys flopping around on this little planet, and he said, "Man, these guys should have spaceships." And he gave them spaceships, and then the little slugs crawled into people's brains and took over the universe.
But no, the slugs were already in the brains of the Geds.
Yeah, but the Gags are just little. The Gags hardly even had legs, I think.
The Geds, they were like monkeys.
It's a very primitive race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jake mentioned. When Jake was a controller, it mentioned them.
Yeah.
So there's this great Andalite scientist who said, "Man, these Yeerks, I feel bad for them. They need technology to be able to take over the universe." So he gave it to them, and then they took over the universe.
He wanted them to see the stars. I thought that was cool.
He didn't think they would be such a menace. He was just like, "Oh man, these poor Yeerks, they're so primitive." Now the most important law in Andalite society is Zero's law.
The law of Zero's kindness.
Yeah, the law of Zero's kindness, yeah. Which is like, yeah, don't be so kind like Zero was, because you could really screw up the universe.
It's a pretty good law. Don't just give people, like, technology or whatever.
Now the whole thing with Axe is, like, Elfangor broke the law to give the Animorphs morphing technology. So Elfangor is like, well, if my brother broke the law, then I should break the law to help these humans, because I trust them. And we wanted to stop the Yeerks.
I think it's more nuanced than that. I really love how this book explores, I was just now thinking about, like, wait, is that a good law? And, like, how do you, at what point do you decide to step in and interfere, and what point do you not? And I just realized, like, that's what this book explores. And it explored it really interestingly.
It did, yeah.
A quick note about Axe. He says he doesn't really, he says he heard that, like, Rachel is pretty and Marco is cute from the other Animorphs. And he doesn't understand when he's an Andalite. But when he's morphed into a human, he recognizes that Rachel is pretty, but he doesn't think Marco is cute.
Oh, so guys, Axe is straight. He is so straight.
Well, that's how I interpreted it at first, but maybe he just doesn't think Marco is cute.
Well,
yeah,
Marco likes to say he's cute
but,
a lot.
I would say that Axe is... The thing is, it's implying, which I think is really interesting, is implying, like, Axe is kind of inheriting the human sexual instincts from his DNA.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And that's like something we've never seen in morphing before. Like, I mean, we saw it a little bit with Tobias, and I kind of had a crush on that other hawk, but like, we haven't seen the Animorphs act on their sexual instincts when they're animals yet. So I thought that was weird that Axe would think about that, at least in a child-friendly way.
I didn't view it like that. I assumed it was just like, as a human, he can see like, oh yeah, these people are considered attractive to humans. I don't think he actually felt attracted to them. I think he was just like, yeah, this. I can tell now that this is what most humans would consider attractive.
I don't see why being a human would help with that.
If I look at a picture of like some attractive celebrity, I'm like, yeah, that person's attractive. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm attracted to them. But if I was looking at some alien creature, I'd be like, well, I don't know what's attractive here. They all look.
Yeah, but if you were looking at an attractive, supposedly Andalite, how would turning into an Andalite help you see that the picture of the Andalite is attractive or unattractive?
Instincts.
That's what I'm saying. You have the instincts towards their like sexuality.
Yeah, so either way, Axe is experiencing human sexuality.
Axe kind of mentions this later in the book when he says that he noticed that Cassie is attractive when she morphs, and he was surprised that the others should pick up on it, not being Andalites. Like, he assumed the art of morphing and recognizing genius in that is inherent to Andalites only.
There's a lot of like fantastic racism kind of stuff like that in here. Like Axe is like, oh man, how could you humans possibly know anything about morphing? And wow, you guys are so articulate for humans.
Yeah, that's why I think like Andalites are kind of the elves of the space world, and I'm glad that this book shows that they do have faults. You know, even if their faults are that they're too nice.
I don't know. I feel like, but I loved it. I mean, I keep saying I loved it.
But of course, the fault now is that they're too mean because they're like, no, Axe, you can't give them the power because that's the law. And then there's also like how their society is like an honor-based society instead of like a. I think that the terms for it are like a guilt society or a shame society. He definitely comes from like a shame society where they're like, oh, you gotta do this thing, and if you don't do that thing, you lose your honor.
They're like, oh yeah, the most dangerous creature in the galaxy killed your brother, little boy. Well, it looks like you gotta go kill him, little boy. Sorry, but otherwise your whole life's otherwise you're gonna be like, nobody's gonna like you your entire life unless you go and try and kill the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, you little freaking 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And Axe is just like, yeah, that's how it goes. Okay.
I didn't really think about it that way, but I guess that's right.
Yeah, Axe.
It's so weird when Axe like first talks to his dad, and his dad like goes through the ritual thing with him.
Yes.
I thought that was a really cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad like before making this is the first time his dad probably thought he was dead, and like he calls his dad for the first time in probably a long time, and his dad, like, upon just seeing that his son's alive, the first thing he has to do is say, like, oh, son, is Alfengor dead? And who killed him? And did you kill Visor 3? And he goes, no. And then he immediately goes, I'm so relieved to see that you're still well. Like, he starts going into a casual conversation after being like, and do you, Aximili, take up the burden of avenging your brother's death? And I just thought that was just a cool look into, like, how these people live.
Yeah.
And this book was really good because it had like a lot of the silly hijinks that I like from Animorphs, but it also had like all this cool alien stuff and these deep things.
Yeah. This book I was not expecting like the Animorphs books to be this good. Like, I thought book 6 was good, and then this book came along, and it's like this book made book 6 look like a stupid little baby.
I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
In comparison, book 6 is still good. Book 6 is still good.
So, I guess next plot-wise, we kind of talked about the school. Axe goes to school. He's like, oh, what are these small doors? Where do they lead? And he's talking about lockers. Then the whole thing happens where the teacher freaks out. And he's like, oh, there's a Yerk inside me. And then Chapman comes in. It's like, all the kids, get out of here. Go outside or something. And then they kill the teacher. And then does Axe go over to Jake's house?
You mean Marco's house?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was asking. Is it Jake's house or Marco's? Where does he go next?
Marco's house.
Okay.
So at this point, the Animorphs have like Jake has found out that like Axe is definitely keeping things from them, and he's not okay with it. Like as I mentioned before, like he pinned Axe up against the locker and like huffed in his face about it. And so now all the Animorphs kind of are on a mission to like try and get anything out of Axe that they can.
I was kind of upset by like how fast the Animorphs like started getting mad at him, because at the beginning of the book it was like, oh yes, I have secrets that the Animorphs can't know, and I was honestly kind of hoping that like he would keep these secrets for like the next few books and it would be like this ongoing thing, but it was all wrapped up in this book.
I thought it was fair because it's like the Animorphs are watching humans die around them, and Jake is like, oh man, my brother might die.
Yeah, by the time the book actually ended, I didn't have a problem with it. I just when Jake immediately got mad at Axe, I was like, oh, I was hoping that wouldn't happen so fast.
To me, it seemed like it was that third act betrayal scene that's in a lot of kids' movies nowadays, where it's like, oh, you lied to us just so that you could make me go on an adventure with you, and then everybody's mad at each other. So I was kind of annoyed by it. I'm like, well, they could be a lot more forgiving of Axe in this book, I think.
That reminds me of like I think in the past we've mentioned how like Cassie's built up to be this like huge like peacemaker when there isn't really any good examples of that. And I think this book like had a good moment where Cassie was like, no guys, he's right, like listen to what he's saying. Like I forget what she said, but she kind of like made everyone understand why Axe was keeping information from them.
This book made good use of Cassie. Good job, this book.
Nah, I thought it made okay use of Cassie. I mean, there's that one scene where Axe goes and hangs out with Cassie and pretends to be Jake.
It was a good use of Cassie because, like, the past few chapters were like about the Animorphs like trying to figure out how to get any information out of Axe. So they have like Marco take him to the bookstore and then take him to his house and be like, here, just hang out with him. And then Axe is running around at night, and then Cassie sees him near her barn, and she invites him over for dinner. And he morphs into Jake, and he has like a nice time with dinner, and he does some silly things. And then Axe reveals things to Cassie, like, after that night, because he realizes how much he misses his family after being with Cassie's family. And he he points out, and she doesn't like prod, but he like points out where his home planet is in the sky to her. And I thought that was really cool.
We should bring up the whole like computer thing, because I don't think that was like specifically mentioned in the summary that Stu gave.
Okay.
So at Marco's house, this is before he has dinner with Cassie's family and stuff. Marco says, okay, I'm going to leave the room for a second. You just sit here and talk to my dad or something. Don't tell him anything. Just answer yes or no, basically. And then Marco's dad's like, hey, what's your name? And he says no. And then there's just some silly stuff where Axe only says yes or no to his dad. But while Marco's gone and Axe is like alone in the room, he notices Marco's dad's computer. And he's like, oh, I noticed some scientific writing, and I assumed this was a game. There seemed to be a game on Marco's computer where there was scientific information, and you had to. And the goal of the game was to fix the mistakes, because these were obviously mistakes. It was actually like Marco's dad's work, because he works for like I forget what it is, some kind of science thing. And then Marco was like, that wasn't a game, that was like my dad's work. And this is like some crazy technology that you like revealing to them. And Axe is like, oh, oops. And he realizes that he like accidentally like pushed forward human science by like a century.
Oops. I put the dialogue between Axe and Marco's dad in the chat. Does anyone want to read it with me as like a back and forth thing?
Oh, I'll read it with you.
All right, you be Axe.
I'll be Axe?
Yeah. Hello?
No.
And Marco's dad, are you a friend of his?
Yes.
What's your name?
No.
Your name is No?
Yes.
It's an unusual name, isn't it?
No.
It's not?
Yes.
Yes, it's not an unusual name?
No.
Now I'm totally confused.
Yes.
Hey, Marco, would you, your friend is here. Your friend No is here.
No.
Yes, that's what I said.
Whoa, Dad, you met my friend?
No?
What?
I must be getting old. I don't understand you kids.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's a great scene.
also just love the dialogue he has with Cassie's family because by this point he's like read the World Almanac, so he just knows some stuff about like civilization.
Yeah, after Mako's house, Mako takes Axe to the library and he's like, "Listen, we're gonna show you everything to know about humans. We have all this information here. We're not gonna keep any secrets from you because that's what friends do, right?"
Oh yeah.
And then Axe like reads the whole almanac. At this point, I don't think they yet know that Axe did the whole computer thing. It doesn't really end up being a problem because I think he just goes and like erases it or something. I don't know, but he uses it to contact his family. That technology.
I like how Axe describes human conversation as like a game where somebody asks a question and then you ask a question and then they ask a question again.
I love this part.
So like there's this. So Cassie's dad says, "So Jake," because Axe is morphed as Jake. "You think the Bulls are going all the way again this year?" "Yes," I answered. "They can go all the way." Then it was my turn to ask a question. That is how making conversation works. "So, did you know that the cream separator was invented in 1878?
That reminds me of stuff I would say as a child. Like, my mom would say, "Hey, Mom, do you know?" And like some random fact I read in a fact book. But yeah, I thought that was really funny.
And then there's another part where Lex is just like flexing on everyone with the World Almanac stuff. Cassie's dad makes chili, and Axe really, really loves the chili because he just loves like anything that tastes strong. And Cassie's dad says, I used habanero chilies, the hottest substance known to man." And then Axe says, "Not as hot as the temperature created during nuclear fusion."
Yeah, it's like when you learn a new fact and you're really excited about it, but it's hard to like weave it into conversation so that you can tell people about it.
Yeah, and there's just so much in this book. Like
you know what else is really this book is really good, but you know what else is really good? Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Why don't you tell me about Kirby's Dreamland 2?
It's really good.
Wow.
Are we getting paid for this? What's going on?
Kirby's Dreamland 2 was invented in 1991.
No, that's Kirby's Dreamland 1.
Oh.
Mr. John Kirby's Dreamland 2 contacted us and asked us to promote his product, the Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Oh.
Well, Kirby's Dreamland 2 was made in 1995.
By John Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Yeah.
Named after his son, Kirby's Dreamland 2 Jr.
It's a very good game. You can buy it on the Game Boy Color. Or the Game Boy.
Yeah, use promo code Animorphs to get 90% off your purchase of Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Only available until July 8th, 1996. So better hurry.
Yep.
Okay.
Kirby's Dreamland 2 came out 1 year before Animorphs, so like if any of the characters in this movie mention playing like a new video game, they're talking about like Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Oh, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah. Like we think these kids are so relatable, but look at the time they live in.
Yeah, it is relatable. I mean, we're talking about Kirby's Dreamland 2 and how great and new it is.
I look at Kirby's Dreamland 2 and the first thing I see is like, oh, it's old.
It's old, but it's cold and gold. And anyway, observatory scene.
I was just gonna point out, like, I'm looking at my notes and there's just so many things that I want to point out about this book, and one of them is Axe is always talking about like how he's like a nothing compared to Elfangor. And I just liked the quote, "Even here among aliens, Elfangor was the hero." Okay, now onto the observatory.
I like this part a lot. It seems very cliche, but good.
So Axe recognizes that he has to go to the observatory and like shut down, like erase all this information that he gave the humans by breaking the law. He's like, okay, I didn't break the law because it was a total accident. I didn't realize I was putting ahead the technology or whatever. And then he like says to Tobias, "Hey Tobias, promise you won't tell anyone, but I'm going to go to this observatory." And he plans to quickly use the technology that the humans now have to contact his family at home and then destroy it. The technology, basically.
Yeah.
How is this cliche? True.
Yeah, I've never heard of a plot like this before.
There's literally a bad guy who says, "Hey, you and me, we got a lot in common. Yeah, I want this guy dead. You want him dead? You can team up and let him die."
We didn't get to that yet. Okay.
Yeah, and I have some things to say to you about that when we do.
Yeah, seriously.
What?
Anyway, So the first people that answer the phone are Andalite military people who are in charge of like interstellar communications or whatever the hell. And X tells them what's going on and the fact that Elfangor like gave Animorphs the morphing power and then died and then was killed by Visser 3. And he's like, guys, it's really, really bad here. But like the Andalites don't even seem to care about that. They just care about preserving Elfangor's image, which I thought was very interesting.
So the guy says, what? Elfangor? Elfangor is the one who gave the Andalites the technology? That would surely hurt his image as a prince, but if it was an aristh who did it, it would be fine, and it could be forgiven. So then, what he's basically telling Axe, like, yeah, you have to lie and say that you did it, or it's gonna be bad.
I like the subtlety in the way he said that.
Yeah, I liked it too, because I don't really like when characters have to lie because of plot. But I liked it in this situation because, like, both people knew that he was lying, and you were just like, okay, yeah, I guess I have to lie and say that I did it.
It was very political.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I have the quote here. Young Aximili, your brother Elfangor is a hero. The people need heroes in this endless war. I do not wish to tell the people that in the end, Elfangor broke the laws. There can be no forgiveness for a prince that breaks the laws. Unlike an aristh. So, I ask you to think again. Was it truly Elfangor who gave this technology to the humans? And I thought, like, wow, the Andalites are just such absolutists. Like, they don't, like, even though Elfangor is a hero, they just can't have his image tarnished in any way. Even if it's like this kind of situation where I think most reasonable people would say, like, yeah, it was fine of him to give the humans the morphing technology since they're fighting the Yeerks and everything.
I kind of liked how the guy who Axe was in the call with, he could have just said, I know that Elfangor did it, but I'm just going to tell everyone that it was you. But instead, he forces Axe to lie about it. He's like, no, okay, yeah, tell me again, who was it? And it's just like, instead of just lying about it, he's like, okay, yeah, we need to know that we're all on the same page here. Who's the one who really did it? But it was like really like he didn't even like force him. He just basically like subtly said, oh yeah, that would be bad. And then like both people knew, like, oh yeah, this is how our society works. I have to lie about this. Like it was. Yeah. It seemed really casual.
Yeah, and the thing is, he totally ruined Axe's life. Because Axe is like, well, I was forgiven because I'm an aristh, but now there's no hope of me ever becoming a prince. Elfangor screws up one time, and like Axe is totally screwed over.
Yep. So then he finally gets to talk to his dad, and he gets to get through this little ritual they do where when the parents find out that this kid is dead, and Axe has to like answer these questions about his death and like promise to avenge him, even though he's like a little boy, but whatever. And then like just as they're done with the ritual and his father's like starting to make conversation with him, there's a controller shows up and like unplugs the phone.
Well, it's like a Skype call, not like a phone.
Oh yeah. He sees his face, but yeah, he cuts the connection. I really love this guy. I don't know what Stir's talking about.
Yeah, I thought this guy was great.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
So what are you complaining about?
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was cliche, and it was really good.
It's a word with very negative connotation. Use it
the
lightly.
Cliche is the villain, like the big bad, going like, "You and I aren't so different, you know. We were both outcasts." Ah! But this was just some dude who was like, "Man, Visser 3 sucks. He's a terrible boss. I want to kill him. So here, you can help me."
Yeah, and I really like this guy's arc too, because he's like, well, see, because we learn here that Yeerks actually can love, because this guy was like, oh, you know, I actually really loved this other Yeerk, but Visser 3, but then she like starved to death because of Visser 3, so now I want to kill Visser 3 and like avenge my lost love.
Yeah, I was like feeling for this guy.
Me too. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah, it's one of the best characters.
So your favorite characters are Tom,
Tom Chapman and this Yeerk. Tom Human Tom Chapman.
Okay.
Chapman Human Chapman and this Yeerk.
I really liked how like the guy had like a gun, a Dracon beam pointed at Axe, and then Axe was like, "Oh, let's do this peacefully." And I forget how exactly it actually happened, but
Axe just says, "You're the one with a gun pointed at my head," and then he just like drops on the floor and kicks it, like, you know, cliche, awesome.
Yeah, I like that
stuff. Yeah,
and then he's like, "Okay, Axe, okay, listen, Andalite, I'm now at your mercy. You could kill me with your tail, but I want to talk to you." And then he explains Yeah, he wants to kill Visor 3. And the reason is that Visor 3, he told the Yeerks that the Andalite bandits destroyed the Kandrona on Earth, but he lied, saying that they would have enough Kandrona to feed everyone. But basically, they have to go back and forth to the Yeerk mothership to give the Yeerks Kandrona, and he's only been giving it to Visor 3 has only been letting the Yeerks that he really cares about do that. So like the high-ranking Yeerks, and he's basically just been letting a lot of them die. And the reason that these people 3 weeks later have been like suddenly freaking out and then they have to kill them is because this controller sabotaged one of the ships, and it threw off the whole like feeding schedule for the Yeerks. So now some of the high-ranking controllers are suddenly dying because of that.
Man, I love this guy. I want a book narrated by this guy.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping that he might, like, in later books be an ally, but at the end, Act said that this is the last time you'll see me, so I guess that's not happening.
This is a good book.
It is a great book. I love the dialogue, but like obviously this is like a villainous character from our point of view. Like he's like, you know, he's presumably holding his human host as a slave, and I think it mentions like that he was having trouble keeping control of his face, and that might have been because of the human host was fighting him. So obviously he's like a villain in our eyes.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't have much food because of the whole like starvation thing with the Yeerks.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. But still, like, I really like the dialogue he has with Axe, where like I'm like, dude's got a point. He tells Axe about the whole thing about how a lot of Yeerks are dying. And then Axe says, "Do you expect me to feel badly?" And then the Yeerk says, "No, I expect the usual Andalite self-righteousness and hypocrisy from you, Andalites, the meddlers of the galaxy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that what probably happened is that Yeerk just ended up dying, and then that guy was just true.
I don't know. Why do you think that? I mean, don't you think they would have just killed the dude?
No, cause he's. I think this guy at this point is a complete rebel, and he is staying far away from Visor 3. He knows that the Visor 3 is slaughtering the controllers, and he's just staying away from it. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna die and not give Visor 3 the satisfaction of killing me. And like, I think he's just gonna let this human go.
That's entirely possible. Man, I'd love to read a book about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how he gets like so angry about his girlfriend dying when Axe asks him why he's telling them this, and he says, "Why?" He bared his human teeth in a grimace of rage. "Because I want him dead. I want Visor 3 dead. He killed my Durain. He killed the only one in the galaxy I've ever had feelings for. He did it, and I want him to pay with his life. The foul, half-Andalite scum. I want him dead."
I like how part of the reason he has contempt for Visor 3 is because he's part Andalite.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. It's like he hates Andalites, and then he like, just by Visor 3 like having an Andalite body, they're kind of like, Visor 3 is kind of like an Andalite here.
Oh, so
Yeah, maybe that's another reason why Visor 1 didn't want to be an Andalite.
And he goes like, "I could have killed you here. You have your duty, Andalite, the burden of revenge, your brother's killer, your greatest enemy. You Andalites are great ones for duty, so go do your duty, Andalite." He gives them information on where Visor 3 will be vulnerable in the near future.
Yeah, he writes down on a little piece of paper like a place and a time of where Visor 3 like has his like feeding ritual where he eats.
Yeah, this is making me wonder actually, like, so now that the Yeerks don't have as much food, is this gonna give the Animorphs a chance to like get Tom and trap him? Cause like in Jake's book, we found out that like Tom was a high-ranking controller, but then they moved the high-ranking Yeerk out of him, and then they put like a lower-ranking one in.
I assumed that Yeerk became a high-ranking controller because Tom is a big part of the sharing, and I feel like that human body is somewhat important to them as like a guy who's closely related with the sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Keplergate going that direction with it, but it would be cool if it was like a low-ranking one and they just dies, and then the Andalites are like, "Oh my gosh, we gotta like get Tom and like make sure the police don't find out about him. We gotta like put him in the basement or something."
Maybe. Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't mentioned at all in this book.
Well, I don't think Axe cares too much about it.
I guess you're right. It is from Axe's point of view.
Oof. I think Jake's character comes through a lot stronger in the books that he doesn't narrate a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's a part I already mentioned where he gets like super angry with Axe and pins him against the wall. But there's also a part I really loved, where their teacher is like clawing at his brains trying to get the yerk out, and Jake just runs up to him and immediately goes like, "It's okay, I was a controller too, and you can make it through this." And Axe is like, "This is stupid, you're gonna reveal yourself. That's not, you don't do that." But Jake is just like, I just love that was a part of Jake, that's a part of Jake's character now.
Yeah.
So the next part is that Tobias, X swore Tobias secretly, and Tobias like swore on Alfangor, but Tobias told the Animorphs anyway, which is
Alfangor's dead, so it doesn't matter.
Wow.
If you swear on a person's life and they're dead, you didn't break it.
He didn't swear on his life. He just swore like on Alfangor, like the concept of Alfangor.
I think Tobias did what Elfangor would have wanted him to do, so it's okay.
Yeah. I think this made Tobias' character like really strong. He just had a feeling that he needed to tell people, tell somebody that what Axe was doing, even though he'd sworn to secrecy. And the Animorphs get super mad at Axe for keeping secrets from them and for swearing Tobias to secrecy, because they're like, now you're turning us against each other. Mm-hmm. So then Axe basically just decides he's going to leave the group because he's not going to be able to gel with them. And he's like, all right, I'm just going to kill Visor 3. I'm going to have to plan an assassination of Visor 3. Because that's what I have to do with my life. I mean, I'm just going to go down as the dude who royally screwed up by giving the humans morphing technology, but like at least I killed Visor 3, I guess. That's going to be me.
Oh, hang on. Before we talk about what happens next, I just remembered, because I wrote this one down specifically. Every chapter starts out with like an excerpt from X's diary, and it's just like each one is just like a 1 or 2 sentence observation about human life, basically. And then it says, from the Earth diary of Aximili, Esgarath, Isthil. And it's just like things he finds interesting about human society and stuff. And this one just says, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might just find you get what you need. A famous human named Rolling Stone said that. I thought it was very wise for a human, from the diary, blah, blah, blah.
I wrote that one down too.
So each chapter starts off with something like that.
Well, that I think that comes back. Is a quote book.
Elaborate.
The very last line is thank you very much, which is often attributed to Elvis as Elvis's famous quote. That would presumably be in his book.
Do you really think this is a reference to Elvis?
He's just saying thank you, dude.
No, he's saying thank you very much. That's Elvis's big phrase.
No, lots of people say thank you very much.
Yeah, but like after like the whole book, like being like where he's constantly saying quotes
thank
from,
you,
especially
like
pop
Why would
music.
he say it like that? That's like no.
No, he's been using quotes this entire book.
No, not. I mean, he's used them once in a while, but not
X
like
isn't even talking to a human here. He's talking to another Andalite, and I'm just imagining him somehow having like Elvis hair, and he's like,
"No, I think thank you very much is just a thing that he would say."
Or they put "thank you very much" in a quote book. I mean, it's something that people say when they're trying to imitate Elvis, but it's not like a famous quote.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like a groundbreaking or like inspirational or anything.
Well, neither is "You Can't Always Do What You Want."
Yeah, it is.
No, that's just a song. It's just a thing that's in the Rolling Stones song.
He didn't just say you can't always get what you want. He said you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.
That wasn't in dialogue. That was like at the beginning of his diary. Like
yeah, but he read this quote and he decided to use it. Axe has been known to like say stuff that he reads in books just for fun, just because it works.
I don't think "thank you very much" is a quote that would be associated with Elvis in an almanac. That's just a pop culture thing.
No, it's a quote book. He has a quote book.
It's not. They wouldn't just put random stuff that people have said in the quote book.
Well, then why'd they put a Rolling Stone song in there?
Because it's inspirational and meaningful. Thank you very much. What does that mean? It means thank you.
It's not an Elvis reference.
It's not an Elvis reference.
I'm not going to jump down on that.
Anyway, yeah, another example is something Be Natural mentioned earlier, where he's talking about how humans think the music and discoveries are so cool, but they're ignoring the great discoveries of the taste of vinegar and stuff. That was another one.
The refreshing beverage called vinegar.
Yeah.
I drank vinegar once.
I love that because I was like, After reading that, I was like, I could imagine drinking vinegar, I guess, and liking it if I was like an alien. Makes sense.
One time I was a kid and I was thirsty, but I couldn't reach the faucet without climbing on the counter, and I didn't want to climb on the counter, so I just like went into the cupboard and I found this bottle, and I was like, that looks kind of like water, and I poured a cup of it, and it was really gross, and it was vinegar. I could like kind of read at that point, and like sounded it out. I was like, Mom, what's vinegar? And he said, oh, don't drink that, it's gross. I said, yeah, it is.
Nice. So speaking of quotes, we like one quote that comes up right like as Axe is leaving the Animorphs. When Axe is talking to the Andalite High Command or whatever earlier, the dude mentions like he was formerly an advisor to the Hork-Bajir. So there's this quote here where Axe says, "But I felt bad about assuming the human body. As the human skin replaced my own fur and human eyes took over my Andalite eyes, I kept remembering Lirim talking about how he had been an advisor to the Hork-Bajir. The Hork-Bajir had lost. The Yeerks had enslaved them, but Lirim had been true to the laws and the customs. What if he hadn't? What if he had given the Hork-Bajir advanced technologies? What if he had taught the Hork-Bajir to build spaceships? Would the Hork-Bajir still be a free people today? It wasn't for me to decide. I was just an aristh. I would never be anything anymore." So then he goes to fight. Then he goes to Visitor 3's place, and he's gonna like morph into a rattlesnake, and his plan is to kill him.
But he doesn't kill him.
Oh man, I was so frustrated at this part.
Yeah, but it kind of made sense at the end.
He bites him with poisonous venom, and then all the animals. Axe starts running away, and then all the animals show up and help him, and they're about to kill this Analyte. Visitor 3 is like dying from the venom, basically. And then Tobias says, "Wait, guys, the Yeerk just crawled out of his head. It's swimming around. I missed it. It jumped in the water."
Blew my mind.
I like how Tobias goes, "Oh my god, no," and then he like dives at the ground, and then he like everyone's like, "Tobias, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh my god, the Yeerk just crawled out of his head."
Did it explain how the Yeerk got out of the Andalite's head?
I think they can just do that when they want.
I mean, the Andalites do have ears. Okay, I'm stupid.
On the cover of this book, they do at least.
Can I just say, as Random Fan 937, my favorite part about this podcast is that you all are like focusing on the podcast and not doing anything on the side, like playing a video game to beat someone or something. I love how focused you are, and you're not doing anything else. You're just doing the podcast right now, not doing anything else. Just my favorite part. So that's all I had to say. I love all y'all. I might love one less of you if one less of you breaks my heart. But anyways, stay cool. Keep doing your podcast. Goodbye.
Sure, is this why you've been so quiet?
I haven't been so quiet. No, I've only started this like 20 minutes ago. After my notes ran out. So now I have nothing to cross-check.
Thanks to that fan for coming in and talking to us. You too can do that if you join our Discord server.
You can't unless you're a scientist.
Do you want me to explain what just happened?
No. What do you mean? There's nothing else to explain. A fan came in and joined for a few seconds and came to give us compliments.
He was just listening to our live broadcast of this podcast. Whoa, that rhymes. And he wanted to let us know how much he was enjoying it.
Yep.
Okay then.
Anyway, I had so many problems with Visitor 3 escaping.
Why?
Because he ran away so fast. He was moving through like grass and dirt and stuff, and he still got away so fast that
they were right next to a river.
Okay. Yeah. I just don't think that a Yeerk can get out of somebody's head that easily.
Well, you haven't seen it before, so
crawl out.
Yeah, when they go to the Yeerk pool, they just like go out in like an assembly line. It's easy.
Well, I just don't imagine it being a very quick process. But okay, I guess I can't argue with that. Maybe it's a lot faster than I was imagining.
Also, no one expected it. It came to a surprise. It threw them off guard.
I thought it was cool because it's something we haven't seen yet before. Where like the Visitor 3 intentionally jumped out of his body and escaped.
It was cool, but okay, I haven't finished yet. So then he climbs into the stream, and then he goes down the stream. How the heck does he know like where he is in the stream? How does he like contact people to tell them where he is? How do people get him out? How does he not just go to the ocean?
He'll be fine.
because I'm assuming that he's just letting the stream carry him down. If he's just sitting where he is, then Tobias should just hop into the stream and get him, right?
It's a fast-running stream. You can't see it.
So he's just going down with the stream. How are the Hork-Bajir and Texans? How are they able to get him then?
Well, it's better than being executed, isn't it? What else is he supposed to do?
But the thing is, so Visser 3 escapes, and then Axe is implying that Visser 3 will get back into his Andalite body. Well, the Andalite's going to die of the snake bite, isn't he?
No.
No.
Why not?
Okay, so what happens is then like the Yeerk jumps out of the Andalite's body, and the Andalite says, "Hello, who are you?" And to Axe, and says, "Please kill me. Kill me. I've seen horrible things. Kill me before they put another one in me. They're gonna put another Yeerk in me. Just kill me."
No, they're going to put the same Yeerk in him.
They're going to return him to me.
Yeah. Anyway, so Axe refuses to kill this person, this Andalite, and the Andalite says, "Okay, I understand." And then they just let him sit there because he says,
"Idiots, fools! They should have just killed him."
Because he says, "No, the poison it's not strong enough. I'm too weak to move, but they'll come back and with blade ships, and they'll put another Yeerk inside me or the same."
So
one.
bite him again. I don't know. Slice him with your tail blade. He wants you to kill him, so kill him.
Yeah, but Axe wants to keep this Andalite alive in case
Axe wants to bring this Andalite to its family sometime.
I just feel like it's way worse if they just let Visser 3 go, though.
Yeah, I agree, because like by killing him, they're getting rid of a Yeerk that can morph.
Also, so this guy he can't do anything right now. He can't like morph into like a bird or something and fly away.
He's very weak. He can't even hold his tail up.
Yeah.
So how come the venom bite can't kill him then?
He said they'll keep this body alive. Your poison is too slow.
I don't bite him again. I don't know.
Axe does not want to kill this Andalite because it is no longer Visser 3.
Could they like drag him away and keep him alive some other way?
They didn't really have a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah, they had Hork-Bajir. They had like 20 blade ships or bug ships coming.
I think he should have killed him, but Axe, I think it's just an Andalite society thing where it's like, no, I cannot kill this member of my own species just because he's going to be a controller. I have hope that he's going to truly be freed at one point. I want this Andalite to see his family again one day. Even though it may cause us more problems, I don't want to kill this one Andalite because I have hope that he'll be free one day. And the Andalite said, okay, I understand. Okay,
so you do agree with me that he should have died?
I really should have died, but I understand why Axe didn't, I guess, because it's, yeah. Hard.
Yeah. Okay, I understand why Axe didn't need to. And, yeah. I guess. It's just not happy that he decided not to.
But yeah, one of my last notes was, come on, why didn't Axe just kill the Andalite? Like, I do agree with you. He should have, but...
Yeah.
I felt it was very in line with what we've learned about Andalites so far and how they're all about honor and all.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, like, I feel like a human in that situation would have a very similar reaction to Axe. That like a human, it's not just an Andalite thing, but like if there was a human laying helpless in front of you, and you were like told to just stab him, and I think a lot of people wouldn't do it.
I mean, yeah, like all the humans, like when the Animorphs went to the Yeerk pool, there were humans in cages begging for death, and the Animorphs just didn't go and kill all of them, you know.
Next book, the Animorphs just go to the Yeerk pool and ask people who wants to die.
Okay, yeah, sure. I guess I understand why. If I were like a teenager and I couldn't do it. I don't think. I'm just upset that he tried so hard and then nope, just all fell apart at the last second.
Yeah, it's a tragic book. This was a good book, man.
Yeah, it was really good.
A quick thing. While Axe was like running through the field, he says, I ran past trees that did not speak, like the trees on my own world.
I love the idea of plants being sentient and talking. I hope that gets explored in more depth.
Speaking of trees talking, there's this game called Kirby's Dreamland 2, and there's a character named Wispy Wood. I don't know if he speaks, but he has a mouth. He blows air at you. It's quite an exhilarating boss fight. So do you have anything else to say about this book? Like, because that's basically the end of my notes, although I have a quick couple things to say about Andalite technology and lore that I wrote down.
All right, hit us.
So they have 3 hearts. The planet, there's always at least 2 moons in the sky, and there's up to 4. And when there's 4 moons, it's like daytime, basically. I think it said he has 6 fingers, because it said, 2 of my fingers on each hand fuse to make 1 finger, giving me 5 fingers. So that seemed to confirm that he has 6 fingers, which I don't think has been specifically said before.
No, it hasn't.
Because none of the kids bothered like counting the fingers specifically. They just said 1, 2. Yeah, it's too many.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that they just said, his many fingers. Like, why did no one just say 6?
Well, I assume that Cavalcade didn't know exactly how many.
It was just such an important detail that she just wanted to get right. She needed the time to think about it until book 8.
In the last chapter, there's a lot of great moments with Tobias. I mean, there's this great moment. I mean, there's the moment I mentioned earlier where Axe is like, my Storm, Tobias, and I can't smile, but we look at each other and we understand each other and we smile. And there's another part where Tobias is like, where Axe is like talking about like, oh my god, I broke the law and I'm not, I did this bad. I'm fighting with humans and I'm sharing all this stuff with humans and oh my god, I'm just gonna be like a total disgrace to my culture. And then Tobias says, I know one Andalite who would have been proud of you. I just smiled.
Aww.
So after they fail to kill Visor 3, basically Axe like tells the Animorphs everything. He tells them that it's the Andalites' fault that the Yeerks are as powerful as they are. And he expects them all to be mad at him, but they're not. And they're like, oh, I forget exactly what happens, but basically they're all friends. And the Animorphs say, like, listen, Axe, we all want the same thing. We all want freedom, and we're going to fight for that together. Humans and Andalites, we're friends. And then Axe, like, contacts his home planet once more and kind of tells them what's up.
I love this scene where Axe contacts his planet once more. The first thing he says is, I need to tell Aloran, that's Visor 3's body, I need to tell Aloran's wife, her husband sends his love. He still hopes for the day when he'll be freed. That's the first thing he says. And then he says, this is the dude who was an advisor to the Hork-Bajir, and the dude who made him take the blame for Elfangor. And he says, you tried to save the Hork-Bajir and still loved by all our laws, still keeping all our secrets, but you failed. These people are my people now, and sir, with all due respect to the law and to you, I won't let the humans be destroyed as the Hork-Bajir were destroyed, not while I live. And then the dude says, you're just like your brother Elfangor. And then Axe says, thank you, Prince, thank you very much. And it's not an Elvis reference, it's just cool.
No, I thought it was funny. It was an Elvis reference.
Do you think every time somebody in Japan says Domo Arigato, it's a reference to that one Styx song?
No, I don't. But he was reading a book of famous quotes.
I don't want to argue about this anymore.
I know, neither do I.
Sorry for bringing it up.
Anyway, good ending.
I got chills at multiple points in this book reading this. I was just like at this part where it's like, you're just like your brother. He's like saying it as an insult. Like, you're just like your brother Elfangor who gave the humans morphing technology. And then Axe is just like, that's so great. Because a lot of this book was about Axe being like, I'll never be as good as Elfangor. And now he's being like insulted by being told that he's like Elfangor. But he just goes, thank you. And I love it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was cool because he goes, thank you, in a reference to human culture, showing that he's like combining with the humans. It's like a punch in the face to the guy without him knowing it.
Fine. Okay, sure, I totally 100% agree with you. Just stop it.
It's a cool theory. I feel like I think
I was like, man, this is like the best last sentence in the book because of that. It's so subtle.
All right, well, I'll let you go on believing that. I think it's a great last sentence, whether or not it's a reference.
What is the theory you had about like book 5? You had some theory about like, it's about like that the one movie, Keanu Reeves movie, and how it's like connected to like the link. I like these theories you have that seem like really deep. And I'm like
really kind of dumb.
No, they're cool. I think these are cool theories, but I don't think Capplegate intended that. Anyway, let's get back on track.
No more arguments. My favorite part of the whole book is when they're in class and Axe gets to the desk and he says, what does he say? He sits at the desk and he says, sitting in his desk is unpleasant. And then someone he has no idea who it is says, you got that right, dude. And I thought that was cute.
Oh my god, thanks for bringing that up because that made me laugh.
Axe fits right in at your average middle school. He totally does. He could go to school every day and nobody would know he's an alien.
Yeah, they'd all just think he was a weird kid.
Yeah, they just think he's like quirky.
Yeah, I'd read a whole series about just acts going to school.
Problem is, he can't stay at school for more than 2 hours.
You go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you can go to the bathroom, just chill out in the bathroom for like.
And then someone will see these big blue hooves under the stall door.
And then say, who's making out with the horse?
That's true, he could just turn into an Andalite for like 2 minutes and then turn back.
He could go to the janitor's closet or something, I guess.
Just be like, listen, I like to go to the bathroom in my fursuit, okay? Don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of the fact that Cassie has a photograph of Jake in her locker?
I thought that was kind of silly, but I decided not to let it bother me.
I thought it was cute that Act was like, "What's that? Why do you have you can see him right in you can talk to him. He's right there. Why do you need a picture of him?"
And then Cassie goes all flustered, like, Yeah.
I mean, Jake has a picture. It's I don't even think I noticed that in comparison to the fact that Jake has a picture of Cassie shoving pills down a badger's throat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that'd be an interesting photo. Like, this is presumably just like Jake head on, but I think the badger one is like, I think part of the reason he likes it is because it's just a good photo that captures her essence.
It's a candid shot.
Oh, that reminds me. The cover of this book is on the cover of the book, it's like Axe morphing into a human. And I think most of it looks good, except the eyes, which they're just like, they have like the normal morph, and then they just like Photoshop the eyes, like slowly shrinking in the head. I don't know. It looked weird to me.
The stock eyes?
Yeah, the stock eyes.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else do you want them to do?
I don't know. It didn't look very smooth to me.
They just disappear into his hair. I don't like the model they chose. Like, they keep describing him as like, they keep describing his human morph as like looking kind of weird because he's like a weird mix of these 4 kids, but not in a way. I don't know. They just made it sound like he looked strange, but then they just picked the most average looking white kid, and that's the model.
Well, it's strange to them because they know him. I mean, they know themselves. So to us, it's like normal, but like they see their own mouth, their own eyes. So it's really like just glaring. Glaring? No.
This dude looks like his name is Philip, though. I will give them that.
Yeah.
That's they say that Axe's name is Philip when he's at school.
He's Jake's cousin.
Yeah, he's Jake's cousin from way, way out of state. Jake says, "This is your only day at school. This is just so you can learn how to be a more believable human. One time." Prince Jake held up a single finger, indicating the number 1. Yes, that is 1, I agreed.
I didn't notice that.
Me neither.
That's all I got.
Time to sign off.
I'm be natural.
I'm better.
I'm mustard.
I'm stir.
Okay. Where does ice cream go for an education?
Sunday school.
Cool. Oh, Sunday school.
Yeah, be natural got it.
School.
Oh, because it's ice
school. Ice school.
Ice cream for school.
No, school for ice cream, duh.
Man, you've been doing these way more than I have recently.
Kirby's Ice Cream Land School.
Hooray.
Mustard, what is this cursed image you sent?
That's a map in Kirby Dreamland too.
I know it is, and I'm very upset now.
Have you heard about that?
I played the level earlier today.
Oh.
And I did not realize that until you showed me the full picture.
I think it's one of the funniest Easter eggs. I like that it's just like a smiley face.
It's not funny!
I like that it's a smiley face. Look how happy it is.
I don't like that it has boobs. Nipples.
Well, I totally...
This is real. I played this level earlier today, and I remember everything about it. I just didn't put the pieces together.
Yeah.
At first, I thought this was like a word, because I saw the letter Y.
Yeah.
And then second, I was like, oh, it's a smiley face, and then below that, it's like a cat smiley face, and then it's a Y.
It's very well hidden.
It's very well hidden.
I didn't notice what it was until you said it better.
Man, John Kirby's Dreamland 2 really likes trolling us.